in, guys, to another episode of the TBT podcast.
Tyler Thickman, Tyler,
Jason Dunn, good to have you back on the podcast. Will Shields, welcome into the podcast. For another great episode of the TBT podcast. I know it's been a little while since we have had a full-length episode, but we are back, and of course, we're back with Zach. Zach, Chiefs Kingdom is right around the corner again. We're right back. Almost, we got 2 weeks now before the start of the season. Zach, how have you been? It's been a little while since the folks here at TBT saw both of us.
Yeah, what was our last episode? Was it like AFC divisional? Maybe
it may have been either the Super Bowl or right after. I think it was right after the Super Bowl. We had a little, free agency prediction and, kind of just recapping what took place in the Super Bowl. So that was last time we talked. It was not on a great note after getting our butts smacked by the Philadelphia Eagles, but the Chiefs look to improve this offseason, grabbing a couple of guys, some tackles, some running backs. Re-signing a lot of guys. That was mostly it. Re-signing a lot of in-house guys. What has kind of been your thoughts from free agency to training camp in these last couple of preseason games, which we'll get into here in a second? But how is your kind of emotions going into this season?
Yeah, so I've been overall pleased with our offseason moves. Whether it's the draft, I think Simmons was a crazy pick. I like the D lineman we got. Mm-hmm. I like Bassa. I like Royals. And I was pretty excited with the draft, and I think that for the most part, they've done well in training camp. I'm a little skeptical of if we did enough to have quality players on our defense. I think our offense is going to take a huge step up from last year, especially in terms of explosiveness. I think with Pacheco back, that can make us more explosive. Obviously, Rice, Hollywood being healthy. My main concern going into the season, I'm very wary of our defense. I know we drafted the two guys in the second and third rounds, but did we do enough? We lost Wharton, we lost Noddy. Jones is a year older. I know we paid Karlaftis. That is my main concern, and I hope that over these first few weeks we can show that that's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the big concern during preseason. And like you said, some of the big-name guys on this team are older, but you're a lot younger. So the plus is you're a lot younger on defense, but sometimes that can be exploited later on in the season. Yeah, you can start out, and those guys can come out fast and hungry, but sometimes late in the season when you're playing really good teams and those big games, that can be exploited with some of these younger guys. So you're absolutely right. I think this defense has been a top 5 to 3 defense the last 3 years. It really has. I mean, you could argue it's been one of the biggest reasons why they've won a Super Bowl the last couple of years. And I think it takes a step back. I think it falls more into like the top 10 to like 11 range. Not where it's going to be like a liability, but more where it's more of you see games where you're like, man, like our defense did not look good today. But like you said, I think the offense takes a step up. Talk a little bit about why you think the offense is going to take a step up this year.
I mean, when you look at, I saw a stat, Mahomes has had a different left tackle in every Super Bowl appearance, which is crazy, and a lot of different right tackles as well. Okay. And so that type of turbulence when it comes to your O-line in the most important O-line position, it can't be good. I feel like before that Tampa Bay game, I had the idea that Mahomes doesn't need a good O-line, that he's one of the quarterbacks that because he's so good at extending plays and doing something with nothing, he doesn't need an O-line as much as other quarterbacks. But I think we've seen that Mahomes needs an O-line just as much as any other elite quarterback does. He's not immune to a bad O-line. And so obviously getting the weapons back, but it's mainly the same weapons we had last year. The real difference is this year we have a tackle, and he might be suspect in run blocking so far. But from what I can tell from these first 2 preseason games, Josh Simmons is the best pass protecting left tackle maybe that we've had. Eric Fisher was a good player, but I mean, I think that's got to be the main difference between this year and last year and why we will improve on offense.
100%. He really does have potential to be the best tackle in the Mahomes era. He's looked pretty good what I've watched, I've not really broken down a lot of film on him, but just from the eye test of watching him when he was in there, he looked really good. Remember, this guy was potentially getting redshirted this year. So that tells me he's a lot farther along than we thought going into training camp. A lot of people predicted this guy to be redshirted. I did not think he was going to start. I thought Moore was going to be the tackle, and he was going to get redshirted this year. But it doesn't seem to be that case. The only guy I really have a big concern on that offensive line, as I've seen a couple of times get absolutely bodied, is Kingsley Sumatea. He's the only guy I have concern with at that guard position. I don't know if they try to move more there or what they may do there, but there's been times he's got absolutely bodied, and I don't like that he walked off of practice in training camp as well. I know he's frustrated. It's hot out there. Chris Jones had to get it back on him and say, hey, if you want to win a Super Bowl, man, you want to be part of something great, this is the type of dedication you have to go through because Andy Reid's training camps are tough. So he's the only concern I really have on the offensive line. And then another thing you said real quick is we do basically have the same receiving core. The only advantage is it's healthier. Like Hollywood Brown will be back. And obviously Xavier Worthy in year 2. We'll have the first 4 games of Rice, but then what's the suspension going to be? Is it going to be 8 games, 4 games, 6 games, 3 games? What do you think about the receiving core and the potential of you're having Rice for the first 4 games, but then potentially not having him again until maybe week 12?
Listen, I think what we saw last year was that when Rice got hurt, it allowed Worthy to break out and develop. Mm-hmm. And I think that this year that may be the case. Who knows? Maybe that's the case with Royals. We'll still have Hollywood and Xavier and Travis, but we'll need another receiver on the field. And so I think out of any team in the NFL, we're the best equipped to lose our best offensive weapon and weather the storm. I mean, we made the Super Bowl last year. Lost Pacheco to a broken leg for most of the season. Lost Hollywood Brown to a broken clavicle or whatever it's called for most of the season. Rice LCL or whatever it was. I think
offensive line weather that storm.
Hey, we might, exactly. Like our offense may be worse for those 5-6 games, whatever it is. But I know that we're not gonna skip a beat once Rice gets back. And also, one thing you don't think about for a suspension is that literally is 6 games that he can't get injured. And so who knows? Maybe he would have gotten injured. That's a crazy hypothetical, but maybe he would have gotten injured, and this is a way to keep him healthy. I feel good.
Yeah, and the thing is too is you're potentially going to get him back when we see the Chiefs' offense every single year get better later on in the season.
Yep.
Even last year, the offensive line was better than what it was in the beginning part of the season. It still struggled, obviously, throughout the playoffs at times and then definitely in the Super Bowl. But that's when you see it week 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's when you see the Chiefs' offense get even better. Like you said, they didn't have their number 1 running back. They didn't have their number 1 receiver for most part of the season. Now those guys are coming back, and they didn't even really have their what was supposed to be their number 2 in Hollywood Brown for most of the season until the last 3 or 4 weeks. Do you think this offense, and a lot of people, and really the question I should ask is, you see a lot of people on ESPN and Fox, don't even get me started with Jason McIntyre with his predictions on the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll get to him at the end of the show because we're going to save the worst for last.
Is this a team because the Cowherd?
Yes, that is it. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, J-Mac, Jason. Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, we're going to get to him. This is a team, quote unquote, they're not going to have the calls to go their way, and they're not going to have all these, a 10-1 or whatever it is in 1-score games. Do you see that being a problem, or do you think they're not going to have to be in so many 1-score games because the offense is going to be better?
Okay, I don't look at it that way because people act like we weren't 15-1 with our starters last year. We can have regression when it comes to 1-score games and still be the 1 seed. I think most years a 13-4 will get you the 1st or 2nd seed. I mean, every year it'll get you at least a 2nd. If we were to lose 4 1-score games this year, there it is. We're 12-5, 13-4, and we're still one of the top 3 seeds in the conference. And so I don't really see it as this crazy like, oh, if 1-score games go the opposite way, we're doomed. We're going to win most of our 1-score games because we're better than most of the teams we play. And secondly, I mean, we just know how to do it. It's not a coincidence that the best team in the league, the team with Patrick Mahomes, went 10-0, 11-0 in one-score games. That's not a coincidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and my thing too is, like you said, Patrick Mahomes most years, I think his average win total is about 12. He's usually the 1 seed. So even like you said, we lose a couple of those one-score games. You go 12-5, that's most of the time is gonna get you the 1 seed. Unless again you have the Ravens, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago, they won 14 games or whatever it was. Most of the times he is the first seed and he is getting a bye. So I think they'll be okay, even if they have some of these games. Because yeah, they do have a pretty tough schedule. This season, but most of the time, Patrick Mahomes is winning about 12 games, like you said, to 13 games. So I think that'll give you the wins. And I even think the Bills were a team last year. Yeah, they have Josh Allen, who was the MVP, and he is, in my eyes, right there with Patrick Mahomes. He's not Mahomes, but he's right there because obviously he hasn't beat him in the playoffs. But I think this is a team who maybe won a little bit more games than we thought they should have last year. Just with the type of talent they have on their roster. So I think they took a little bit people by surprise. Tua will be back healthy, and usually they compete with there, even though Buffalo owns them. But right now, I think obviously it is Bills, Ravens, and the Kansas City Chiefs. What is some of the other teams in the AFC you can see continue? Is it just those three teams, or do you see another team sneaking up on the Chiefs?
Yeah, I mean, I think the AFC is pretty straightforward. I don't see any team touching Buffalo. I mean, in their division, no one can touch Buffalo.
Right.
Miami, like you said, they own Miami. The Patriots aren't ready yet. The Jets have Justin Fields at quarterback. We can just go through the divisions because I mean, the Colts are trash. They're starting the worst quarterbacks in the league. The Bengals, their defense is going to be as bad as last year. They may make the playoffs, but that defense isn't serious. The Steelers are the Steelers. We know what they're going to do. You know, the Browns are the Browns. I don't need to go. It is those three teams and then everyone else. And I think that next team after the Bills, the Ravens, and the Chiefs, I think is the Broncos and then the Steelers and then the Bengals. That's how I would have it, personally. I'm lower on the Chargers.
Houston.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Houston as their division winner, they'll be fourth. But then after that, it's those three wild card teams: Denver, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati.
But let's move on. Let's get out of here real quick and let's just do some Chiefs predictions. Give me two players on offense that you think you want to give a prediction for. It can be a bold one. It can just be what your prediction is. And then two guys on defense.
Okay. I think Travis Kelce has a bounce back. Okay. From an efficiency standpoint.
I like it.
I mean, he still had numbers last year. He had almost 900 yards. He didn't have many touchdowns as he has in the last 2 years. But he was very inefficient. I mean, we were force-feeding him the ball because he was the only guy that knew how to play his position.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Xavier Worthy didn't know how to play receiver yet until the end of the year. No one else. Justin Watson, I mean, like, what are we doing here? So I think Travis Kelce, especially with Rice taking the other side of the underneath stuff and Worthy really, you know, stretching the defense along with Hollywood, I think Kelce has another efficient season, starts to get more touchdowns like he had earlier in his career.
Yeah.
I think Kelce goes for 1,000 yards again. I think this time he has like 6-7 touchdowns to go with it.
Yeah, I'm right there. I am like 990. It all depends, like if he's at like 960 and then he just doesn't play the last game. I think that's what's going to happen, kind of like a couple of years ago. But you're right. I think he has like 7 or 8 touchdowns this year, just because again, like Noah Gray is a guy who had a little bit more like tape in the red zone this year, and it was a guy they went to a little bit more this year. So I think teams are going to be looking for that a little bit more if they go more like 13 to 12 personnel. And then I think obviously, like I said, Rashid Rice is going to be there. Hollywood Brown's going to be out there. There's guys where, again, you can't just be like, we'll just throw everything to the side of Kelce. And we've seen what Kelce can look like when there's another guy out there. Even a couple of years ago when he had like 13 touchdowns with, you know, a guy like Tyreek Hill out there. I mean, again, I think, like you said, Kelce has a bounce back year. Who's the second guy on offense you predict is going to have a big year, bad year, whatever it may be?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Josh Sims, the guy we talked about at the beginning of the episode. Mm-hmm. The second preseason game was a lot rougher than the first one. The first one was like, okay, this guy's legit. There's gonna be growing pains early in the season, but I think what we see is that he's gonna be a dominant pass protector. He might be a second Jawan Taylor where he's not much help in the run game, but he can keep Mahomes clean, whatever it takes. And I think that in turn is going to make the offense flow so much better because we saw just with Tooney back there that Mahomes actually had trust and that started to, even though Tooney wasn't even playing that well at tackle, when Mahomes trusts his guy, Mahomes plays better and the offense moves better. And so I think Josh Simmons is going to be an X factor. I couldn't see any other way we went into the season. We had to address it and we did it in two different ways. And that's the guy.
Yeah, and I think that means, Mahomes. I think Mahomes, my prediction this year is Mahomes is going to be back to an MVP status. I think he can get close to 40 touchdowns because a key thing people don't realize. So when Mahomes' offensive line is giving him time, when he last won the MVP, I think that was in 2022, he led the league in touchdowns thrown in the pocket. A lot of people see Mahomes as what? Like a guy who likes to roll out. He's a scramble guy. No, when Mahomes really wants to sit there and throw strikes. That's what he wants to do. And we even saw that at the beginning of the first quarter with Buffalo when they went and they led down the field. Is when he's able to hit those guys like quick over the slants, Mahomes wants to throw strikes. Yes, obviously he wants to throw downfield, which obviously that's his bread and butter, and I think they're going to get back to. But I think we're going to see Mahomes really get back to like kind of that like MVP status because you haven't really seen Mahomes kind of like not like he's talking trash this offseason, you know what I'm saying? But like you see a little bit more like I'm just ready for the season. Like I'm ready to go. You don't typically see him when he was in the interview with Kay Adams go like I'm just sick of the talk. I'm just ready to go. Like I'm just ready for the season. Usually he's just the type of guy, he's not that he's gloating over the Super Bowl wins like he had last year, but I think he's just really ready for this season to start because of the bitter taste of last season.
Yeah, I mean, as someone as competitive as him, if Brady ever got blown out in the Super Bowl, this is exactly what we would have seen from Brady. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is the guy he is, and I'm just excited to see him out there because when we lost to Cincinnati, he came out there the next year and had arguably his best season.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And that was people were predicting that was again a season where you had a lot of people doubting you. Was on the AFC. That was the year where you had Denver get Russell Wilson, and it was then you had the Raiders get Devontae Adams, and you had the Chargers get all their guys and Khalil Mack, and that was the year where everyone was kind of saying, "Oh, the Chiefs, they got blown out," and I don't think anyone feared them anymore. I think this is a year where I don't think the Chiefs are going to win as many games. That's another prediction. I don't think the Chiefs are going to win as many games. That's hard to do. But I do think they're going to be better. I know that sounds weird. I think they're going to win 12 games to 13 games, but they're going to be better, especially on offense. They're going to be a better team.
100%.
Yeah. And then what is your two guys here on defense you have a prediction for before we get out of here?
So I don't know if this is necessarily because of his play. I'm very excited for Christian Fulton to be on the team. Not because of his play necessarily. I mean, he's a great press corner guy. He actually ranks very highly when it comes to press coverage, which that's what Spags likes to do. We put some guys that maybe shouldn't be doing that out there. We've had Joshua Williams trying to jam someone at the line. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no.
But what Christian Fulton does is he allows Trent McDuffie to move back inside. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but that is game-changing for our defense. Last year, McDuffie was on the outside. Our defense was good, but it wasn't elite. Our defense was not elite last year. It was good at keeping people out of the end zone, but it was allowing yards. It wasn't the most efficient defense. The year before, our defense was the best in the league. You can't debate that.
Yeah, you can't.
Trent McDuffie had like 6 forced fumbles because when you have him inside, not only is he covering their slot receiver, but he's also close to the action every play. Every run play, he's there. You can send him on a blitz and he doesn't have to come from way outside. Everything works better when McDuffie's inside. And so Christian Fulton, if he can hold his own out there, him and Watson on opposite sides, that's going to be game-changing. And that if that works, our defense will be better than last year's. If that doesn't work, it's probably going to be worse because I don't think the pass rush is where it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And we're thinner at linebacker than we were 2 years ago.
And that's a good point. That's what scares me a little bit is because do you think that it wasn't really like the quarter? Because I know the Chiefs, you can say, well, guys, the Chiefs have had like the second most sacks in the league the last 3 years. But those first two, obviously the back-to-back Super Bowl years, I think a lot of those are coverage sacks. I think that's Snead.
Yeah.
And I think that's McDuffie. That's the only thing that scares me about, the development of George Karlaftis, who I think is, still getting better. I think he had 10 sacks last year. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
But Chris
nine and a half
Jones,
sacks.
yeah, 9.5 sacks. Chris Jones is getting a little older. So that's the only thing that scares me is a lot of that coverage sacks from that year where it was McDuffie and it was Snead. But like you said, if that works, then that means there's going to be a lot of coverage sacks. And I think the Chiefs' defensive line is going to get back to what they're doing. And that could be huge for this Kansas City Chiefs. Who's the second guy, though, you have on this defense, Zach?
Yeah, I need to see a legit pass rushing year from George Karlaftis. Okay.
Okay.
And I think we can see it. He is not the most technical guy. He doesn't have the most power. We know he's been a hustle guy, like you just said. He gets coverage sacks because he's always going after the quarterback for as long as he needs to get that sack.
Right.
But with the money we paid him, with Chris Jones getting older, we need a legit edge guy. We need a legit guy that can get pressure. I mean, Karlaftis was top 13 in pressures last year, so it's not like he's some bum, but I need that next step. I need that first round where we drafted him step, where he's a guy that is legitimately feared, because then we can have him on one edge, Chris Jones on the other on passing situations, and we can return to that 2023 form where it's like, good luck, converting a third and long against us, because we're going to blow you up from both sides. And so Karlaftis is my guy. I expect him to be better, but we need him to be better. We need him to be better.
Absolutely, I agree. I mean, I don't know if you saw the clip, Chris Jones, and I loved it. Absolutely getting on to George Karlaftis saying, you're not a 13, 14 sack guy. I've not seen that from you. I want to see that from you. Yeah, he hasn't seen it. So I think he's a guy, at least I want to see, like you said, again, with the pressures, we know I think he's got to be a top three. I would have to double check, but top three in batted passes. I know not last season, but the season before, he was number one in batted passes. That former water polo guy, he always been able to bat passes, and he's always going to be there for pressures because, like you said, he's a hustle guy. But I want to see you get there. I want to see you get to the quarterback, and he's always working with Tom Ali in the offseason, so I like to see that. But I want, like you said, I want to see 12 sacks, 14 sacks, something around there where you're like, this guy's a legit top 10, top 5, guy in the league where, in the AFC, this guy, you're going to have to look out for George Karlaftis. Before we get out of here, Zach, last thing. Do you have, before this, because this is the last preseason game, is there anyone you'd like to see? And then can you give us your official record prediction for the Kansas City Chiefs?
I can't say Simmons in 3 different segments. You know what I'm saying? I have literally in all preseason games, I didn't watch the entire second one, but I went back and watched Josh Simmons snaps. I watched Josh Simmons solely when I watched the first game. I was like, I am watching this man. So I'm going to say Josh Simmons. I'm going to watch every snap he does. I'm going to rewind the TV after every play just to make sure I'm not missing any context of why he did what he did. And I'm going to come back next pod with a nice diagnosis of Josh Simmons' play. Chiefs record this year, their Vegas, it's set at 11.5. That's crazy to me. 11.5 for the Chiefs. We've only finished under that once in the Mahomes era. So you know that you have to, based off of logic, you have to bet the over on that. I'm going to say we go 13-4. Okay.
13-4.
Look at our schedule. 13-4.
What losses do you have?
I think that's good enough.
I'm right there with you. That's exactly what I have.
Yeah. I think we lose to Baltimore. I think we lose to Buffalo. I think we lose 1 to Denver. And man, our schedule's kind of easy.
Do you have us getting the 1 seed?
I do, because I know the Ravens eventually drop division games, and they also have to play all the teams we have to play. Who's our last loss?
Do you think it's just the week 18?
No, I think we have to win that to get the 1 seed, because I think the Ravens are gonna be up there. Yeah, I think we have to win the week 18. Most years you don't sit your guys.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So, do you think they'll split with the Bengals, and do you think they'll split with the Steelers?
I think the Ravens split with the Browns and the Steelers.
So then,
the way they play their division,
I don't know. So that's 2 losses right there. So then you're saying they only lose 2 games the rest of the season.
I also said we lose to them.
Oh, okay.
And if we lose to them, then they have the tiebreaker on us.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 13-4. I'm gonna say that last loss is TBD.
I think we lose. I think we lose we lose one to the Broncos. I think we lose to the Bills.
The Bills are set in stone. We've lost that game already. What are we talking about?
Exactly.
Josh Allen loves the regular season against the Chiefs, man.
Do you think lastly here, because we got to get out of here, the Eagles? What about the Eagles?
I think we beat the Eagles. It's our home opener, revenge.
Home opener, revenge, yeah. And they did lose a couple guys on their D line. They lost a couple guys.
Yeah, they lost a few. They lost Slay as well.
Losing other OC. Do you think that has potentially anything like it did 2 years ago?
Kellen Moore, I don't know. With the talent they have, I'm like, they can either throw the ball or they can run the ball. It doesn't matter who's OC.
Yeah.
Best offensive line in the league, both pass protecting and run blocking.
Right. All right. Yeah. So you say 13-4. I like it.
13-4.
13-4. Kansas City Chiefs. I'm excited. Week 1 coming up versus the Chargers. Next week, we're going to break down the 53-man roster. We're going to get more of the defense. I already have a breakdown of the offense. We're going to get Zach's take on some of the offensive guys as well. Who's in, who's out. We will see you guys next time on the TBT podcast.